Physique Mastery Podcast. This is Scott Tousignant, along with my co-host, Bryan Krahn. What's happening, brother?
Hey, I'm well. How are you doing?
Excellent. Doing great, man. So our topic for today is training frequency and why we feel that it's one of those variables, training variables, that is under manipulated. I think I've certainly been a victim of it myself. I basically did body part split routines 90% of my training, I don't know, life, whatever, from the from my teenage years up to my 30s. I mean, most of the time I was doing some form of body part split routine. Once in a while, I'd throw in a full body workout 3 times a week, and that just didn't resonate with me as much. I was like full out bro and really into the muscle mags, and body part splits just felt really freaking good at the time. So I really got stuck in a rut with that, and I see that with a lot of other guys. I also see vice versa, where some guys just love their 3 days a week full body workouts, and they're stuck in that. So bottom line, people just don't change their training frequency enough. So we're going to shed some light on that today, and hopefully encourage you guys to step outside of your comfort zone and experiment with various training frequencies.
Yeah, it's definitely probably my favorite variable. There's so many variables, but it's probably my favorite one to manipulate, because it always pays off. Because just like what you say, that especially guys, they think they know it all, and they do the same thing over and over again, and of course it stops working because the body is an adaptive organism. So then if they come to me, then I change their frequency, and they start getting results again, and they're like, "Oh, this is amazing," and I'm like, "Well, not really. That one simple change usually will spark some growth." So
yeah, absolutely, and it's certainly something that, like, my aesthetic muscle plan has 4 different training phases. Each of them have a different training frequency in there, and it's always interesting to see. I mean, some people right away, if they are used to body part split routines, and all of a sudden I have them on a higher frequency training plan, like, this just isn't right for me, and like, I can't stick with this. They don't give it a chance. You gotta have an open mind when it comes to training, because the ones who do have an open mind and go through these different training frequencies, it really is, there's a lot of lessons that you can pull from it. Sure, we're going to have some of our favorite splits and favorite training frequencies for each body part, but you really need to kind of step out of your comfort zone and experiment with different ones. And the people who do give it a chance are always, it's eye-opening for them, and just makes training a lot more fun as well.
Yeah, and you can see the natural progression in guys, because they always start off doing they do the one body part a week thing. That was popular in the magazines like 10 years ago. And of course, that's probably, in my humble opinion, that's probably the worst split to go on.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they'll train their arms twice a week, and then all of a sudden they're splitting up quad and hamstrings into separate workouts. And just slowly but surely over the course of their maturation, they kind of become higher frequency lifters, and it's just it's an interesting process to see that they don't even realize they're doing it. All of a sudden they're training calves every day, and they're training forearms 3 times a week, and they're training rear delts every day, but just one set. Like they're doing it. All of a sudden you look at their program, and each body part once a week is doing a variable frequency. Some body parts 4 to 5 times a week, and nothing really once a week anymore. So it's like, dude, you're becoming well learned. You're figuring this shit out. So, but yeah, it's one of my favorite variables to play with.
Yeah, and to me it was a fun variable to play with in terms of whole body, change it up. But even more exciting, I'd say for me, just in the past year. I mean, it's always been calves. I've always kind of heard that advice. You want to get your calves to grow, train them more frequently, and that's old school. And
hey, works for John Meadows. He's younger than I am.
So yeah, I always thought that was useful for calves, but never really thought about it for other body parts until this past year, and just really starting to learn more about different body parts, how certain body parts can respond better to higher frequencies. Some of them you have to be careful with. in terms of managing, because it's really when you're manipulating frequency, you really got to be careful with managing your muscle damage and your recovery. But certainly something like you mentioned, rear delts, something you're a fan of hitting more frequently, and they delts in general, I find, can take a pretty good beating pretty frequently. Especially most people they don't get sore in their shoulders. It's not too often you do a shoulder work and you're like, oh man, I feel that DOMS in my lateral delts. You can get there, but
usually a sore shoulder is a bad sore.
Yeah, exactly. But like pecs or hamstrings, certain muscle groups, your glutes, you're like, oh my god, I'm sore for days. You you feel it. Other ones, they can take a beating. So
I think it's hard to hit the delts with a lot of eccentrics, though.
Yeah.
I'm speaking just off the top of my head. Apart from just pressing, where I guess you could have some eccentric action, but anyway, it's the first thing I change when someone says they're in a slump with a particular body part. First thing I'll change is their frequency. Well, I might change their exercises first, but anyway, it's always number one is change up their frequency. So if they're once every 6 to 7 days, I put them to twice every 6 to 7 days. Just change it up somehow, but keep the volume about the same. That's the key, is that you don't want to have high frequency and high volume per session, because that's when you're going to start running into trouble.
Mm-hmm. That's what hurts people the most, is especially if they're coming from a body part split routine and they're used to just being sore from a workout. They're used to destroying it. Then you tell them, all right, we're going to be training this muscle group 4 or 5 times a week. Well, if you're destroying it every workout, you're going to be you're not going to be recovered for the next time. So you stimulate it enough during a workout, and they're like, man, it doesn't feel like I did much. I'm like, yeah, but you're going to be working it tomorrow, and you're going to be working it the next day and the next day. So really, for me, I find when I do a higher frequency plan, whether it's whole body or for a certain muscle group, at the end of the week, I end up doing more total volume on a higher frequency plan, just a little bit more volume. It's not, you got to still keep it in check, but there's only so much you can do in a body part split routine where you're just destroying a muscle. It can only take so much, and that'll really beat you up in a short term if you're trying to really push the volume per workout on a body part split routine. So there's only so much you can do in that one workout, whereas you spread it out over 4 or 5 days. It's amazing what you can fit in at the end of the week.
Yeah, and I think one thing I learned just in the last few years is that when you start to embrace those really higher rep ranges, and you structure them correctly, I would do, if I'm training the same muscle group, say 4 times in a calendar week, I might train it quite heavy on a Monday, and then I could get away with training it light the next day if I wanted to. If you use 15 to 20 reps, it's just they seem to play off one another. It's almost like they almost get a recovery boost from that.
100%.
So it's just little, just things that you can play with, and I just think it makes training more fun and definitely produces a better result.
Yeah, that's been something I've played around with, with the higher frequency stuff during the past 2 to 3 years. Is the first time I went through it, it was really strength focused, where I had 3 workouts that were heavy and only 2 that were in the higher rep range, and it was fun. It was different. I got friggin' strong, but after 4 weeks, I was beat up. I was exhausted. So you can only take that in the short term. So the second time I only did 1 heavy day and then played around with the moderate and higher reps around that heavier day. And I've really kind of found my sweet spot. Really had to listen to my body. Really paid close attention to recovery and how it recovered to higher reps or heavier weight, and the moderate reps, and just the training techniques too. Even having a day where it's just isolation exercises. I found that was essential. If I'm a little bit sore from the previous day, or I worked it pretty hard, if you're just doing isolation exercises the next day in a higher rep range, it's not that bad at all, but you're still stimulating that muscle. And so, there's definitely been a learning curve for me with that, and it's certainly been fun to see how the body responds to it over time. Yeah,
I mean, and you can even go the exact opposite route. for a different project I'm working on. I wrote a year-long program, and the frequencies were getting higher and higher. So in the middle, we have a 6-week block where it's total once a week, like heavy duty training.
Yes.
Like just that, 1 or 2 work sets of like, and we selected the exercises accordingly, like lots of machines where you can go to failure and beyond. Just, I don't really like that type of training personally, but when you just sprinkle it in at the right time, all of a sudden it's the perfect tool for the job. So, so I mean, it's just when you embrace these different ways to achieve a result, I mean, it just makes your programming so much more, not only effective, but so much more fun. Like it's more mentally stimulating.
100%. I think that's why myself, my workout partners, clients, we've never had more fun training, because we are embracing all of this. And that's exactly it. Same thing. Like we will throwing in that one month or so, that one little phase where you are hammering it, doing a body part split routine. There's some research that shows that it allows you to create more myonuclei in the muscle, which will help more muscle protein synthesis. It's still, I think I'm still learning about that, getting some more insights from it. But basically, it's going to help if you do it in the short term. For myself, I find that once a year, I like to hit everything 5 days a week, like a 5-day-a-week full body workout. I'll do that once a year. I was doing it twice a year, and I find it's nice to change things up. It's a nice change of pace. I love it for a month. I absolutely love it. But I found if I do it more than that, I don't love it so much. So, there's these little things that and those are at the opposite end. You got 5 days a week and once a week. Those are on like the opposite end of the spectrum. But then you got your 2 days a week, 3 days a week, and there's so many different splits that you can choose from to fit into that rep range. And when you start thinking during a muscle building phase, you want to bring up a lagging body part that maybe everything is twice a week, but you have 1 or 2 muscle groups that you're hitting way more frequently. It's a whole, I mean, you really, man, that's why this is such a fun hobby. I love it. We get giddy with excitement. Just the potential is limitless here. You should never be bored with your program. If you're doing the same shit all the time, oh my God.
Yeah, you suck. Yeah. It is true though. Like if it is over time, you can't get those overuse injuries. I know I'm always barking about, I train my forearms so often. Sure enough, this summer, I started to get, tendonitis and stuff. So I have to back right off on all that. And even I mentioned John Meadows earlier. Someone asked him, "You train your calves every day? Like when do you not do that?" He goes, "Well, when my feet hurt." And it's true though. I mean, eventually it does kind of catch up to you if you train high frequency, and especially if you, like he does, hits it with a high intensity. So you have to kind of be careful and back off, as needed. High frequency, baby, it works.
Yeah, manipulating frequency, changing frequency. So if you are used to higher frequency, there are people who love high frequency training. If you're used to that, it's a good call. Every once in a while, go low frequency. Just change it up. Just change up your splits every so often, and it does. It makes training a lot more fun. And if you are a lower frequency, getting a higher frequency, you'll find that it can really help with improving your movement patterns and even mind-muscle connection. You get into a groove, and I found that was one of the biggest benefits for me. Doing similar movements multiple times a week is helpful.
Yeah, I mean that's how you acquire skill. Like like think about playing a sport. You don't go to hockey practice once a week, and shoot a puck at the net for 2 hours. You go every day. You have drills. Create that mind-muscle connection. So that requires frequency. So.
Yep. All right. So I think that's a wrap. And if anything, I mean, we're encouraging you to vary your frequency from time to time, but be smart when you're varying it. Obviously, just listening to us talk here, there's a lot to take in, and Bryan and I definitely have a lot of experience with this, experience and knowledge to kind of back it up. So definitely, if it's something that you need a little bit of guidance with, physiquemasterymovement.com. Check us out there. It's a nice support group. And I think that's a wrap, right?
Yep.
Amen. Awesome. Catch you guys next time. Have a great day.
Just as my printer goes off.